Hey everybody, welcome back to the Daily Fan Racing NASCAR Cup Series DFS preview. Today we are talking about Richmond, and I am joined as always by my two amazing co-hosts here in Ryan Larkin and Jason from DFS NASCAR. But guess what? We have a fourth very good looking face down right below me here to talk some NASCAR this week. Here to talk Richmond. Here introducing from Win the Race, we have Mr. Ryan Stevens. And for everyone's viewing pleasure, we're going to introduce them as Larkin and Stevens. How's that go? How are we doing, my friend?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, guys. I look forward to this. I've talked a lot of NASCAR with Ryan and Jason in the past, and I look forward to doing this again. So, and thank you for the compliment. It's okay. It's good, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I can't provide that same, wealth of knowledge about NASCAR, so I got to give my compliment somewhere. I relied on a wheel to win me a contest, and Larkin took a big L in that. I just want to remind everybody. But here we're talking about something here in Richmond. But before we do so, please, everybody who is joining us here, make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. Let's talk last week. Last week we had Coda go down. I actually watched the entire race, watched everything, and I know I saw Mr. Larkin's tweet about it. But I'd love to know how you guys thought the race went as a whole, and what is your overall opinion and success rate on that. We'll start with you, Ryan. How did it go for you? Sorry, Stevens. So confusing. I'm sorry.
He's so excited to go first. Okay, go ahead, Stevens.
All right.
The guest, man.
Coda was good to me for betting and bad in DFS. It was my first losing week of DFS of the year, which is a good thing, but bad because, was winning money until just the end of that race. Everyone watched it. It was this 5 or 6 endings of that race was a lot to deal with. So didn't come out on top in DFS, but another winning week of betting, which was nice. Had Reddick 9-1, got that during practice. And then the 3-1, it's weird that FanDuel left the numbers up during practice and then also doubled down with his plus 300 top 3 boost bet. No idea why they did that, but obviously hit that too. So it was a good week of betting, which was nice. Paid for some DFS losses. So overall, even disappointing DFS week, but we move on to the next one.
Okay, well, now we will let Mr. Larkin go, and I apologize for the confusion, but you really want to talk about it. It seems. How did Coda go for you?
It was all right.
I
made a little bit of money, but nothing to even talk about. It was fine. I just. I watched that race or parts of it, and I enjoyed the long green flag runs. I enjoyed what we saw from a racing aspect right up until the very end, and that put a damper on the whole weekend for me, honestly. Like I enjoyed the racing literally up until about 8 to go or whatever that was when that first caution came out, and I felt from there it kind of went to shit. It was a scenario for me in DFS perspective. I was kind of breaking even. Then I was going to be up like $2,000 until McDowell got spun by Cindric. And then it was like, oh, cool, I made $20 or $40 or whatever it was. And those swings were so big because of those late race restarts. I know a lot of people were up, down, up, and then back down again within the series of 4 restarts. So it was kind of crazy, but we move on. I guess from DFS perspective, it's better than losing, right?
For sure. You always take that win. Jason, what about yourself?
I guess I'm the only one that lost this weekend. I was the idiot. I played one lineup, and for some reason I had Brad Keselowski in it, so that didn't work out too well for me. Kind of ruined my chances there. But yeah, it was chaos. Obviously, I'm gonna be honest. I honestly didn't get to watch the race at first because I was at a birthday party, right? So I didn't get home till like 5:45, and I was able to be Twitter silent. Didn't look at any social media. Didn't look at any DraftKings apps. I didn't want to get spoiled. I wanted to get home, watch the race. Was able to turn it on. And I swear to God, I was able to catch up with the race. Like I just fast forwarded through green flag, through through commercials, right? And watching most of the race. And I caught up to all the fiasco that got up at the end to the last restart I watched live. Like I could not believe that I caught up with the race. Like what a disaster that was on the end, man. Yeah, it's like you can almost you can nail a slate and then it's just, the last. It's just so frustrating, man. I think it's amazing that so many people still show up to play NASCAR DFS when just that stuff continues to happen, right? It's crazy.
Well, it is definitely something that is, in the past. But I would love to give my personal opinion on it, if that's okay with you guys. I think as someone who is newer to the sport and who is watching it, playing lineups and really enjoying getting to know everything and learning all these new cues, you know what, that race where you see the strategy with Reddick trying to pass the guy on those long green flag stretches and all the strategy that goes through that, that's really fun. That's really entertaining. And as a guy who bets UFC, as a guy who's a major UFC guy, I like carnage. So that first caution, cool, big crash, yay, we get to restart, lots of strategy there. But the more it happens, the more it's like, okay, can we get on with this? Like, it seems to be more variance involved. And I think that there is a limit that I could tolerate. And it was at the end where I'm sitting there. I did have a Reddick ticket to win outright, and I was kind of nervous at the end. So that's in the past. We're done. That is my personal opinion on it. And I'm excited to look forward to this week because I do think we have a good one in store here and there. But there's, a thoughts from a outsider point of view. You guys are not alone. I see the same thing as you guys as well. All right, let's move forward to Richmond. This week we have ourselves a nice, fun course here that I've heard a lot of good things from Mr. Ryan Larkin himself. So let's go right over you first, Larkin. What is your thought on this course? And please give a brief overview of it.
So if anyone's been paying attention to me, they know I like high tire wear tracks. It's just kind of my thing. I like races that are long green flag runs and typically boring. That's just kind of what I enjoy. It's probably why I like F1, right? Like, I don't need the crashes to entertain me. But Richmond's a 3/4 mile short track, quote unquote short track. It's not a real short track. It doesn't really produce much beat and banging. The drivers are going to be driving the track. There's roughly probably 3 seconds of tire fall off with these new cars. So, by the end of the run, they're going to be a lot slower, slipping and sliding, and that makes it difficult to drive. That's why some of your best drivers like Harvick, Hamlin, the guys with tons of experience who can take care of their tires are going to excel this weekend. From a race perspective, very, very little carnage, very little cautions. The biggest concern is probably someone gets a flat tire, has to come down pit road. Something like that. But even that's not necessarily a race ender because they're coming, get fresh tires. They're going to be a second half faster than the field. They're going to unlap themselves. They're going to collect fast laps and then probably still going to be in a good position for you later in the race. So this race is honestly probably one of the easiest to predict. If you can hit the race dominators, you're going to be in a really good spot. And quite honestly, I just kind of like this style of racing where we get long green flag runs. We can see Harvick, we can see Truex, we can see those guys show their abilities over a long green flag run. So I'm certainly looking forward to it.
All right. That's a lot of excitement and something that he said, it's easier to predict. Jason, do you feel the same way? And what are your thoughts about Richmond?
Yeah, I feel the same way, at least from a standpoint of easier to predict. Yeah, short flat tracks, they tend to be more easier to predict. But as far as from a race standpoint, I'm not a fan of Richmond. Never have been a fan of Richmond. It's a boring race. It's a dull race. There's very little passing. Like, it did get better last year with the tire wear. I will give you that. But, man, it's still just such a long, drawn-out green flags. The field gets separated. There's no movement, and it's just watching paint dry. Like, literally, this is where NASCAR comes in. Like, this is when you can take a nap, wake up, and catch the end of the race. I'm not a fan of Richmond, but looking forward, like, from a DFS standpoint, predictable. Like, we don't like the chaos, right? We don't like the carnage, so at least we get to avoid that, right? So that's the one positive looking into this week.
Well, what is that? A huge surprise. You guys are disagreeing. Yeah, you guys are disagreeing. That never happens, right? But we do have a tie to be broken here. What is your overall thoughts on it? And is this something you're looking forward to from both a entertainment perspective, or is this purely DraftKings for you?
For me, so I think the predictability part of it is nice for DraftKings more than it is for betting, only because, like what Larkin said, with the tire wear, different strategies can play out, things like that. I think it might be a little harder to just nail an outright here to win, because we've seen like Bowman and like some different things happen throughout the years, different strategy. Hamlin won it on strategy, pitting at lap 350 or whatever it was, or 355. So, it might have to take a few more outrights this week. But for DFS, if they're already running up front and you had them, if they win, it's only going to swing it a little bit. So you can predict the lap leaders, I think, a little easier here. Overall, though, I think I have to disagree with Jason. I like tire wear tracks all the time. Like, I hate when there's no tire wear at all and there's no strategy involved. That, to me, is the most boring. At least here, there's some sort of strategy involved, rather than the fastest car just goes and blows everybody out.
Okay, some nice strategy there, but that's a nice little breakdown. It's something I'm looking forward to now. But let's get into my favorite part about this. Is let's talk about who we're going to look out for when we're going to talk about. I know you saw that, Larkin. I'm missing up my words. We're going to look at our
scoring.
DFS.
How's scoring breaks down?
Yeah, let's talk about our drivers to watch. And in this case, we're not looking at necessarily people we are going to roster 100% because we have not seen qualifying yet. We were talking about who we are looking to target and who we have our eye on this weekend. And I love when I say we because it'll be you three. Let's go with our guest first, Stevens. Who is your top tier driver to watch at Richmond?
This is someone that I already bet at 10-1. It's Denny Hamlin. It's not like a big shocker, I'm sure, to anyone. Besides Harvick, I think he's the best driver here of all the active drivers at Richmond. Second best driver rating, so obviously that kind of proves that. But when you start to look at the underlying numbers, he's got a better winning percentage here. He's won 13% of his 32 races at Richmond. He's come in the top 5 53% of the time. So he's always up near the top, always flirting with a win here, and his strategy is what I really like. He can figure that part of it out as well. Takes care of his tires. He's a veteran at this, and you can't race Richmond for this long and come 32 races and finish in the top 5 at a 53% clip without being absolutely nasty here. So Hamlin is someone I like. It's a Toyota race, Toyota sponsored race. We've seen Toyota has dominated here. I posted a chart. Let me see. I have that up here too. So Joe Gibbs Racing since 2020 in 20 races, they lead by far by average driver rating, and they've won 10% of the races. And they've, as a team, top 5 55% of the time. So they're far and away better than everybody here. And so I'm looking at Hamlin to start the week.
All right. Well, we're going to move over to Jason here. And I realized that I forgot to talk about overall strategy. I skipped something. I'm so eager to hear your thoughts on this. So please, as you tell me about your top tier driver to watch, Jason, tell me also about your strategy going into the race as a whole.
Sure. Yeah. Just as far as like when we look at Richmond, typically the way scoring typically breaks down is it's more you want to stack the front, right? If you look at historically 46% of the top 10 scorers on DraftKings in the last 7 races here came from guys started inside the top 10. So you can see that's a huge chunk of those guys scoring big points in DraftKings comes from those guys starting inside the top 10. Furthermore, is if you think about the guys starting inside the top 10, it's no surprise that these are those guys who are scoring dominator points, right? We had 26 performances of over 20 dominator points in the last 7 races at Richmond, and 23 of those came from guys starting inside the top 10. That's 87.5%. So obviously, if you're looking to target dominators this week, you're going to look at those guys starting inside that top 10. Specifically, the pole sitter. The pole sitter has a massive advantage here. In the last 7 races here, the pole sitter has scored more than 20 dominator points in 5 of those races. And they scored more than 15 dominator points in every single race. And it finished outside the top 7 in DraftKings scoring only once. So, like, you score that pole sitter, like, he's going to most likely end up in that optimal lineup. Again, it's kind of like what we talked about Phoenix. It's very similar. This is a common theme on those short flat tracks. Guys starting to the front are those guys who you're going to focus, and we're going to spend less focus on those position differential plays. You can see right here in this graph, like, you got 26 guys who can score over 20 dominator points in the last 7 Richmond races, and only 9 drivers have done the equivalent in position differential. So if you're looking to spend your dollars this week, you're going to look and spend those dollars on those dominator points.
And let me piggyback on that real quick. So I dug a little bit deeper into Jason's graph because he sent this over to me and I put it together real quick before the show. And the thing that kind of stood out to me was the consistency in scoring with these race dominators. Only one of them scored less than 60 points on DraftKings. So not only are they getting the dominator points, but they're getting the finishes too. They're getting the results. The only one who didn't was Ross Chastain last year, who dropped the 18th. So 25 out of 26 scored 60 or more points, which is a huge haul. And then 23 of those 26 drivers finished in the top 4 of DK scores, not top 6, top 4. So almost scoring 20 plus dominator points is almost a lock to be in the top 4 on the optimal, being an elite play. So when you hit these guys that deliver these huge dominator numbers, not even huge, just 20 plus points, they're going to pretty much be on the optimal. So I thought the consistency there went along with what I kind of thought already with the consistency of Richmond and the lack of variance. So I think it's really important to obviously hit those guys. I think that's kind of goes without saying, but even here where there's almost no variance, it's so crucial to make sure you get on the right guys.
If you don't mind me jumping in just real quick, I just wanted to piggyback on that too, saying with my Hamlin thing, one of the reasons I did pick him for the top tier guy goes right along with this as well, in that throughout all his races at Richmond, nobody has led more laps per race than him. He's over 60 laps led per race. I mean, that includes some that have 0, some that have 200, whatever. But in his big, large sample size of over 30 races, nobody has led more laps than him. And the last time we saw him qualify here, he qualified 3rd. So I just think there's, he'll come, the car will be correct. Kind of goes along with everything you're saying. So I love that, and great graphic.
Yeah, and to add to your Hamlin love here, I ran something today. His fast lap percentage over the last 7 races at Richmond, and he's got 9.36% fast laps. So almost 1 out of every 10 laps he runs is a fast lap at Richmond and last.
Yeah, I think this car is going to come correct.
Okay, we didn't mean to die. Hamlin love.
Well, are you going to piggyback on that as your or top tier driver to watch this week, Jason?
Sure, yeah. Let's talk about my high tier driver that I want to watch this week.
Not
really for positive reasons. I want to watch Kyle Busch and see what kind of car he shows up with. Like, I got to see the speed Kyle Busch is going to show up with the track before I'm going to roster him this week. If we talked at Phoenix before we went out to Phoenix that RCR struggled last year on these short flat tracks. I expected Kyle Busch to struggle, and he showed up and did not have a great car. Average position of 14th at Phoenix. RCR, like I said, terrible at these types of racetracks last year. And then if you look at even Kyle Busch's last 4 years here at Richmond, like, he's been getting outran by his teammates, right? He's the rest of the Gibbs boys in the last 3 years have had combined for 8 Dominator performances of over 20 plus points. Kyle Busch has 0 in those 3 years. So if he's going to get outran by his teammates in the same equipment, how is he going to show up in an RCR car and outrun these guys? If he cannot show up and show me top 3 speed in practice, I don't want no part of Kyle Busch this week.
All right. Mr. Ryan Larkin, we have a Busch, a Hamlin. Are you going to double up on any of those, or do you have somebody else you're looking to watch in this top tier?
Yeah, so I got someone who I feel like is going to somehow go under-owned this weekend, which is kind of ludicrous considering his recent performance at this track, and that's Martin Truex Jr. So Martin Truex Jr. has had a pretty rough start to the year. I mean, aside from his showing at, early on at the Coliseum, it's kind of been pretty bad, especially the last couple of weeks. And that doesn't really necessarily reflect his speed or where he's been running. But regardless, it's just going to keep people off of him. I don't think the odds obviously reflect that they're not super high on him on a track that he's dominated at here in recent memory. So it just kind of stands out to me. I feel like everyone's going to be off of him. So I like that aspect. The next aspect I like, and Stevens brought up the laps led total for Hamlin over his career here, right? Averaging 60 laps led per race. Well, Truex is averaging 80 laps led per race over the last, I think it was, over the last, he's leading 103 laps per race over the last 12 races. So literally leading 25% of laps over the last 12 events here, and 80 plus laps led in 10 of the last 12. So literally at some point he's going to find the lead in this race most likely, and he's going to hold it for a while, and he's going to get you a bunch of laps led. Also, he's one of the top long run speed guys. Yeah, right. He's one of the best long run speed guys, which means he's going to get fast laps. When the tires start wearing out, he's going to be a guy like Harvick, like Hamlin, who collect fast laps, and that's going to boost his score as well. He's a guy that can score fast laps and deliver a 20-plus Dominator performance without necessarily touching lead even. So I think he's a guy that has a lot of viability. At 9,900, the price is right as well, so I think you can easily afford him. And I just love his history here. I know I probably got more stats. 7 of the last 8 races here are top 5 finishes, so most likely he's going to finish in the top 5. And then I gave the 103 laps led per race. It's 1,237 laps led in the last 12 races. It's a huge amount. So obviously he's got the track record here. His worst finish in the last 8 races is 7th. He should be at the front. He should be contending. If Hamlin's got a car, then I expect Truex to be right there with him.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback, and yeah, I obviously love Truex here as well, and especially when you look at, I mentioned Denny Hamlin and his percent of fast laps at when he was first at 9.36. Guess who's second with 9.11%?
Martin Truex Jr.
Right. So right there, like these guys show up together. They both can score well together, same time, and they're priced where you can fit them both in together. Right. Guess who's third, by the way, in that? If you had to guess, who would be third in the last 7 years?
Kevin Harvick.
Christopher
Fastest
Bell.
laps?
Christopher Bell.
Fastest
Oh, Chris
lap
Bell, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Percentage of fastest laps.
I should have
right?
known better.
Yeah, at 7.25%, and they are way ahead of everybody else, basically.
Yeah, I think we'll be talking about him before this ends.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
spoilers. We're gonna keep it going though. We got some great drivers to talk about in that top tier. Let's move it down to our mid tier around that 8,000, 7,000 range. We'll go right back to you, Mr. Larkin. Who is your mid tier driver to watch?
I took everyone else's mid tier values and all their plays before I picked mine, and I cannot believe this man was left off of these two guys as drivers. Going with Austin Dillon this week.
I left them for you.
I can't.
Oh, man, it's been a while since I got to hear you talk about Austin Dillon. I missed this.
Half of this Austin Dillon love is literally just being a smart ass to another NASCAR tout who thinks they know what the hell they're talking about. And I just like being a smart ass and rubbing it in their face. But, Austin Dillon on high tire work tracks delivers, period. End of story. It's not that he's the best driver out there. He never will be. He never was. That's not the scenario with him. But he's super consistent. And on these long green flag runs here at Richmond, he's able to drive to the front. 5 top 10s in the last 8 starts here, including a 2-6 and a 4th place finish. Lots of good results here. He always makes his way towards the top 15, even the top 10. Even last year when their cars weren't very good here in the spring, he managed to sneak out of the top 10, I think even after going a lot down early in the race. So it's a driver I feel pretty confident in that will get a good solid finish. I don't think he'll qualify well, which means he should offer his place differential points, which will be a big benefit. And I just have a lot of confidence in him to deliver me a good performance. The only negative I would have is kind of what Jason was touching on with Kyle Busch, is just RCR's lack of speed and good finishes on this track type. That would be my concern. But like I mentioned, even last year when they didn't have speed, he was able to knock it out top 10. And then the price, $7,200 for a mid-tier driver where we're kind of doing $9,000 to $7,000 as our mid-tier. The price I feel like is really, really good on Austin, and he's going to be able to help me afford those high-end race dominators that I want in my lineup.
Dude, he is the king of finishing 10 spots higher than his car should finish. Always. Like he
really
always does it. I don't know how this guy does it. It's crazy.
All right. Well, if that was the guy left back on the table, you guys have so much praise for him. Jason, you must have a stud to look out for in the mid-tier range. Tell him about us.
It was slowly roll a little bit on the stud here, but a guy I want to look at, I wouldn't say stud, but the guy I'm looking at this week is Brad Keselowski. I want to watch and see what he has in practice this week. RFK, they've looked a lot better this year so far in 2023. Brad ran up front for much of that Phoenix race. He has an average position of 6th in that race. Results didn't show it. He finished 18th. Richmond and flat tracks in general have always been great tracks for Brad Keselowski. He's got 2 career wins here. He's not finished. Okay, it's a big stat. He's not finished worse than 17th at Richmond since 2013, right? That's a stretch of 18 races. It includes 10 top 10 finishes. It's a track Brad knows. I want to see how these RFK cars unload. Like, if they're fast in practice and they qualify up towards the front inside the top 10, this is the highest Brad Keselowski has ever been priced. He's, at least in recent memory that I know, 8,200. No one's going to play him, right? And he's a guy who, if he qualifies towards the front and his car shows speed, he can get to the front and possibly get some fast laps and pay off big in a GPP at low ownership. Now, conversely, if practice gets rained out, right, and he had a terrible week last week, he's going to start towards the back. And if I don't get to see that speed in practice and he's coming in towards the back and going to be chalk, I'm probably not going to be excited about Brad Keselowski.
And to piggyback on that, Chris Buescher finished 3rd here last fall as teammate at RFK. And then the spring race here last year as well, both drivers ran pretty much top 10, 12 all race long. So they were pretty bad at like Phoenix last year. They struggled on some short flat tracks, but Richmond was not one of them. Both of them at RFK were pretty strong. So I can definitely see Keselowski running inside top 10 again, much like he did all of Phoenix earlier this year.
Okay, well, see, again, this is something where Larkin said he skipped over. He was surprised, sorry, that Austin Dillon was left on the board. Stevens, you must have a stud then. You're leaving here at this mid-tier range.
Oh, again, I don't know about a stud, but this is one similar to kind of like what Jason was talking about with Kyle Busch. Like, I want to see how this guy shows up, and it's Chase Briscoe at 7,800. It's weird because it seems like these tracks, we obviously know Phoenix, Richmond a little different, but we use Phoenix, Richmond, New Hampshire generally when we're talking about track type. And a lot of guys are good at all three or decent at all three, especially his teammates. Look at Harvick, Almirola, all that. For some reason, this guy's only great at Phoenix. And like he just struggles. Even in the lower series, he was great at Phoenix, wasn't great at Richmond or New Hampshire. So I don't get it. But I really liked how he ended the Phoenix race. And again, it is Phoenix. He was expected to be good there. But if you look at the fourth quarter speed in that race, only Bell, Harvick, Byron, and Blaney were faster than him. So top 5 speed to end the race. I did like seeing that. I also like here, too, that I do the 4-tire pit stop ranks, and he's 4th in that so far this year. So I like a fast pit crew at a track like this, get him some good track position. As we talked about, that could be very important here. So if he can gain some spots that way, I also like it. I don't know. I want to see how the car unloads. Like, why would Harvick and Almirola always be good here? When Clint Boyer raced this car, he was awesome here. He would top 10 all the time in this car. So I got a feeling that the car will come correct. I just wonder if it's like a mental thing for him or if he's still young and he'll finally get it and something will click. So I just want to watch and see how he shows up.
All right. Well, we're going to stick with you here. We're going to go down to the lower tier, the value tier. Sorry, we can't say lower tier. Value. It's how we're going to be shaping our lineups, especially if we are looking to stack the front. As we mentioned a couple of times already, we're going to talk about someone who we need to save some salary on to fit into our lineup. Stevens, we're going to stick with you. Who is your value tier driver to watch?
Now, this is one that I do want to pay attention to. It's Ricky Stenhouse, who's had a great year. I mean, obviously starting with the win at Daytona, which has nothing to do with this track here, but he's had a strong year everywhere. His only bad race really was at Las Vegas. He was kind of like mid-20s the whole time. But other than that, you look at his whole body of work, including, we're looking at Phoenix last week. In Phoenix, he had the 9th fastest car in the fourth quarter of that race, which is pretty impressive for a single, JTG team here. He's priced as the 29th best driver on the slate, which just doesn't make sense to me. He's had a top 20 finish at Phoenix, top 20 car and top 10 finish at Coda. We're using the same package here as they did in both those races. I just don't think the price makes any sense here. Pricing was the 29th best driver and someone who's had a top 20 car all year. So I don't know. It's not like he's great here, but he's not terrible either. So he's had finishes here in the top 15 in the past. I just wouldn't put it past him. He's the type of guy where if he qualifies 18, 19, everyone stays away from him. And I just don't think I will.
Okay. What's the thing you say? Oh, you're muted, by the way, Larkin. What do you call Ricky Stenhouse?
The better version of Ross Chastain.
Yeah.
No. So I before I paid attention to what Stevens wrote, I actually did research on Ricky Stenhouse as my value tier driver, and I completely agree with this pick. Like the pricing's first what stands out. It makes no sense. Like I know they make bad calls in terms of pricing regularly, but this is one of the worst ones in a while. Ricky Stenhouse is way underpriced here. One, just if you look at his results, if you throw away last year, and the cool thing about this for me is that I just listened to him on Dale Jr., on the podcast, and he literally said, yeah, we were so far off where we needed to be on the short flat tracks. We didn't have the information we needed, and now we have it. And then they go to Phoenix and they look decent, right? So they go from being a 30th place to a top 20, top 15 type car at Phoenix after being a 30th place car last year. So we saw the improvement already. Before last year at Richmond, he had 8 of 10 inside the top 20. All right. And 7 of those 10 races are 18th or better, which means he's finishing in the top half of a NASCAR Cup Series field 7 out of 10 times. Yeah, he's priced what? You said he was the 28th or 26th price?
Yeah, 29th highest price. So
that just doesn't equate to me. To me, he's a guy that should pretty much be in contention for top 20. And then, I know Brian Patty's not his crew chief anymore, but Stenhouse and Patty were the one that figured out that you can make this a 2-stop stage situation here at Richmond. They were the only one that did 2 stops a few years back. He got a bunch of fast laps off of it. He got a top 15 finish off of it. He was optimal because of the strategy. And honestly, it made the whole series kind of do it. Now everyone's 2-stopping during the first couple stages when it lines up. So he's been a forward thinker at this track. He's gotten good results. I don't know if it's just because of that night where I watched him kind of break the slate, for lack of a better term. So I always think of him positively, but he's always getting good, solid finishes here. And for the 29th at 5,700, that's a guy I want a lot of. And hopefully he qualifies like 25th and we can get a little bit of place differential with him as well.
Well, if you can't have Ricky Stenhouse, why don't we go right to you, Larkin? Who is your value tier driver to watch?
So I actually landed on Ty Dillon for like half a second.
Oh.
Because another guy, you're like, how the hell is he 4,700? And if I need 3 dominators, maybe I just punt to Ty Dillon. But I said, no, the car's crap. They're going to run 30th all race. I'm not doing that to myself. So I ended up going with Ryan Preece for this race. And I actually don't have any stats or anything to kind of back it up. My biggest thought process with it was, I know Harvick, and it's really kind of off of what Stevens talked about a minute ago. I know Harvick's good here. I know Almirolo's good here. I know Briscoe and Preece are kind of about in the same situation right now, and I can save a decent amount of salary off of Briscoe, drop down the Preece at 6,400 and probably get the same play. I think Preece is probably a better short track driver. Like if I were to pick between the two here at Richmond, I think Preece would be better overall. So if they got the same speed or if their cars are similar, which they should be, I think Preece is going to outdrive him. And then I can just save that salary for something else in my lineup. So I like Ryan Preece as a short track driver in general. I typically look towards him to see where he's at. Very cheap price for what should be a top 20 car. And then long green flag runs, hopefully he's going to be really good on those as well. It kind of remains to be seen with him because we've only either seen him in JTG equipment where he was really on his way out because they didn't have sponsorship, or back marker stuff, right? We haven't seen him in good, solid equipment consistently, so we don't have a lot of resources to pull from stat-wise. But I think Preece is a good guy to watch. He may bust, kind of similar situation with Briscoe where they may just be bad, or he may have top 15 upside and be a steal at 6,400.
All right. Well, let's end it off the value tier here with Jason. We talked a bit about Preece and Stenhouse, and even a little bit about Ty Dillon. Who are you going to take as your value tier this week?
Yeah, guy I'm going to look at and want to be watching this week is going to be Austin Cindric. I've looked at coming into this year, like I expected Austin Cindric to make that leap forward on the short flat tracks. We talked before Phoenix that he had 5 races last year on these solid tracks that we were finished just outside the top 10. This is historically a track type that Penske has been really good at. I expect him still to make that. I'm not ready to give up on him after, Phoenix did not go well for him. I'm not ready to give up on him yet. One race into the season. I want to see how Penske shows up this week. If they show up with speed, I don't think that they'll show up with enough speed for like a Logano or Blaney to compete for the front of the field with these Gibbs guys or the Hendricks guys, but they should show up with enough speed for a guy like Cindric to run inside that top 10, right? If he can qualify inside that top 10, run inside that top 10 and hang on to the lead lap, finish inside the top 10 for you and have a great day for 6,800. So I definitely want to look at Austin Cindric and see how those Penske boys unload and see if we can get value there at that Cindric club.
All right. Well, as we conclude the drivers to watch section, I would like to please just say, for those watching, the 13 of you guys watching and the people watching after the fact, hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. I also like to give the floor to Ryan real quick Larkin, again, apologize, to Larkin to talk about the contest we had from last weekend and to promote that before we get to our race winners.
Yeah, so basically we're trying to get to 300. That's our big goal now. We're looking at 300 subs. We're trying to push. So whenever we get there, Jason's got the okay from his website, Run Pure Sports, to give a free month away, and that's to all sports. So if it happens in August, then you're set up for football season. If it happens next month, then you got some other stuff, NBA playoffs or whatever. But you get everything there with Run Sports. I'm also going to give a month to my site as well, so you can piggyback on that. You get one of each. And then whenever my hats show up, maybe next month, next couple of weeks, I think the hats are going to show up. I'm going to throw in a hat as well. So we'll do whenever we get there. We're going to figure out some way to do a giveaway to give away that stuff. And honestly, if I get to 300, I'll probably give away more than just that. But that's kind of where we're at now. We're hoping to kind of get pushed over that mark. We're almost to 200 now, so we're setting ourselves up down the road for 300. But please, like and subscribe, do those things. That the higher it gets, it's easier to get more people on board, right? So we need to show a bigger number. So please help us out there.
Is that
Perfect.
2 winners or 1 winner?
I don't care. I'll double it.
Are we giving away one person can win the Run Pure and one person is going to win yours? So have 2 different winners, or?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give mine to both people. 2 people. I'll give 2 mine away.
Oh shit! Let me check under my share. No, I don't.
All right. Well, as we move towards the final segment of the weekly show for Richmond this week, we're going to talk about our race winner. I'd like to take a chance to congratulate my Pittsburgh Penguins for pulling off a win. That's my winner today. Let's talk about our race winners, though. This is the time for my 3 people around me to pick someone to plant their flag and who they think are going to win. I think it's a nice little YouTube clip in case they do win. Just get that free promotion there. Take a shot in the dark. We don't know placement yet. Who is your favorite to win the race? And as always, we got to start with the guest here. Stevens, who is your projected race winner?
My projected race winner is Christopher Bell this week. I'm going to stick with the Toyota theme here. I love the talk about Martin Truex earlier. Already talked about Hamlin. And we talked about Kyle Busch, who, all his dominance here over the years was with Toyota. So nobody has a better win percentage here in his career than Kyle Busch. He's won 18% of his races here, all with Toyota. I kind of feel like, Hamlin's not old, but he's a super vet now. I feel like Bell's kind of taken over as the man in JGR. And I don't know, man, like you see him racing this track, like his absolute dominance in Xfinity. And he doesn't have the win here at Richmond yet, but he's so close. And he's always running near the top. He's running those fast laps, like you said. Someone that can qualify well, which we, made a point to say that's going to matter. So if he qualifies near the top, man, I just think this dude's dangerous here. He can whip it wherever he wants on this track. So I'm big on Christopher Bell this week.
And it's almost like you saw that one coming. A little bit of foreshadowing earlier, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of foreshadowing, I think something else is going to come up here. Jason, who is your projected race winner?
Yeah, I'm just going to say ditto. Yeah, ditto to everything Steven said. He made it pretty easy. Yeah, I like Bell as well. The one thing I will add is when we talked about those dominator points, those guys who scored over 20 plus dominator points in those last 7 Richmond races, 23, right, total guys, 12 of them were JGR guys. This is JGR track. Christopher Bell's the young stud. He's the man. If you look at everything trending on short flats over the last 5 races, he's been the man. I love Christopher Bell this week.
All right, Larkin, we making it 3 for 3 here. Are we going to make it 3 for 3 on Christopher Bell, or are you going to plant your flag in someone else?
No, so I like Bell a lot, and honestly, he's a great pick. He probably should not be, what is he, 4th or 5th, 6th favorite to win this race or whatever. He should probably be up there with Byron as one of the biggest favorites. Christopher Bell's been the best driver on short flat tracks pretty much in every race he's ever been in. All the way back to his time in the Xfinity Series, he's destroyed this track type, and it certainly carried over. I think last year in the 2 races here, he's probably the best car, at least in the spring, so I would not be shocked to see him win. The driver I'm going with, though, I think I'm a little bit more confident in actually winning this race. Bell hasn't had the experience to really deliver wins consistently, right? He's still a young driver. He's still learning how to win at this level. So I'm kind of going the opposite way, and I'm surprised we haven't talked about him much more tonight, but that's Kevin Harvick. So Kevin Harvick plus 550. The bookmakers obviously are on board with Harvick being a favorite here. So I'm not going out on a limb, but he won this race last fall, right? He won here at Richmond and looked strong when he did it. I think he finished 2nd or 3rd late in the spring race as well. Kind of came out of nowhere when Hamlin did as well. They were on the same strategy. When you look back at Phoenix as well earlier this year, they were really strong. I liked what I saw there from a mechanical grip and speed aspect out of Harvick. And then even the Stewart-Haas cars. Stevens touched on Briscoe coming up through the field. Priest ended up like 12th in that race as well. They all look good at the end of that race. So I'm kind of getting a happy, positive feeling from that. And then when you look at Harvick, 10 of his last 16 races here are top 5 finishes. So he's going to be at the front. It's almost a guarantee he's going to be at the front. It's how many laps led, how many fast laps, and then, for what we're doing here, picking a race winner, will he be in contention late? If we get long green flag runs, there's almost nobody better at hugging that white line and getting it turned. It's probably a yellow line here at Richmond, but hugging that line and getting it rotated and saving the tires and being good over the course of 100, 150 lap run there at the end of the race. So I really like Harvick. I think he's probably should be one of the favorites to win, and they definitely got it right at plus 550 in my opinion.
He's number 1 on the 4-tire pit stops again, too. So that team is fast again.
In a race where there's probably going to be, 10, 11 pit stops, all for 4 tires. Every time they come down, they're coming for 4 tires. So they got to be on it. And, yeah, I mean, they've been good, since like last summer, they've been the best team for the most part.
Oh, yeah. That's my one worry with Bell would be the pit stops. I basically have it tiered out the way that I rank them. But I do have Harvick 1 overall. But Bell's all the way down. There's 5 total tiers. He's in the 4th tier. So I worry about his team a little bit. But the other JGR teams aren't total trash. So I'm hoping they can figure that out.
My worry with Bell is it seems like this year he's had strong cars and he's ran well, but he's just faded the second half of the races for whatever reason, multiple different reasons. He just fades and just seems like he doesn't have the speed late. So that has me concerned. But
one thing I did like though is that at Phoenix, that it might happen at the other races, but at Phoenix, the only person faster was Harvick at the end in the 4th quarter of the race. So I do think it's just like a specialty of his, similar to like what Harvick is. They're pretty good on the same type of tracks. Is that a weird? Has anyone ever compared Harvick to Bell? I don't know, but to me, like
I have not. But
every time we're looking at Harvick, we're looking at Bell. I feel like on these. I mean, maybe it's just a short flat thing, but it's interesting.
I like what Andrew just said here about waiting on Harvick. I agree. I don't think Harvick's necessarily going to be a high qualifier. I think he's one of the few that could qualify 10th or 12th, but still have race winning upside. So I agree with that. He may, slide down a little bit after practicing qualifying because he's not going to be focusing on outright speed necessarily. So I kind of agree with what Andrew said there. And then one more. I want to throw out one more bet. I didn't make a banner for it, but one more potential race winner. We haven't talked about Hendrick at all. Like I don't think we've touched on a single Hendrick driver almost in this whole.
No, it's kind of weird with how they ran at Phoenix. It's kind of odd not to.
Exactly, and Byron looked really good at Richmond in spring last year. So, my pick isn't necessarily Byron. It's not Larson. It's actually Alex Bowman. Bowman won here a couple years back. He's great on high tire wear tracks as well. You look at pretty much all his wins, it's high tire wear tracks. And bonus winner Alex Bowman. He's plus 1,800. I think for what if Hendrick comes with the speed that they had at Phoenix, where they essentially have 2 tenths on the field, Alex Bowman plus 1,800 is a phenomenal number.
Well, where he gets the bonus there too is that if we get qualifying gets rained out, he starts on the pole.
That number's one down. That number's one down.
Ooh, so I did not know that.
Yeah. The number is very, very valuable right now because if you get that rain, you got a fast Hendrick car on the pole at 18. I think he's 20-1 some places.
Damn. So cool. I like that. I just like Bowman right now. I think this is the perfect track for him. So I haven't looked into where they may line up at if it gets rained out, but maybe that's what I'll do the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Only because Hendrick got their points given back to them.
Can I pick your guys' brain just real fast? We talked a lot about Toyota, but someone who was just the fastest car by a freaking mile in this package, Tyler Reddick, been working in the simulator a lot. We saw what it did for his road course racing. I mean, is this a guy who can improve here? And in a Toyota that can be scorching fast, is he any sort of threat here? He was very fast at Phoenix, but probably only like a top 5-6 car. But is this someone who can learn like he's done at the road courses and start to dominate elsewhere?
I mean, it's interesting because, like, I know we talk, like, Toyotas, and we think that, like, it's not like 2311 runs great at the same places Gibbs does. It seems like 2311 has a step up at some places, you know, and like Gibbs has a step up at some places. So I don't think it necessarily means just because JGR is good that we're going to see 2311 show up with a ton of speed. It's interesting, though. I mean, you know, Tyler Reddick's always a guy who can break a slate, right? I mean, you know, he's in a Toyota, and you know, no one else is going to talk about him. What's he priced at? I don't even know if that's how much.
9,000.
At what time? 9,000.
Yeah.
No, so he can definitely be sprinkled in as a dominator. Yeah, I mean, you would like to hopefully see practice, right? I don't think I'd want to go there if it gets rained out and have to just take the chance and say, well, I hope he shows up with speed, right?
Right.
But
I think for me, it's a no. I'm not really interested in Tyler Reddick, and I'll probably be wrong on this. You know, anytime you're like very firm on a no with someone they usually hit. But the thing with a track like Richmond or Darlington or Homestead is when we get these long green flag runs in tire where it matters, the cream rises to the top usually, and drivers can overcome even a bad car. They can make things happen. And, you know, I touched on with Austin Dillon with all his good performances in an RCR car. Well, Tyler Reddick never really had that, in my opinion. He never looked good here. And I feel like if he was a good enough driver, he would have at some point a good finish here. And he has an 11th place. Great. I'm looking for guys that can finish top 10. You look at Kyle Busch, Danny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, obviously they're elite, long histories, but they're top 10 almost every race here, regardless of whether their car is good or not, right? They'll have a wreck or, you know, a few instances, but when you get down to it and you look at their track history here, it's super consistent. It's because they know how to finish top 10 here. And I don't think Tyler Reddick knows how to do that yet. To Steven's point, maybe he spent so much time in the simulator and he's learning enough to where he's getting to that point. But I don't see this as a Tyler Reddick track. I don't think he's necessarily very good on this track type in general. And then I don't think he has the skill-wise ability on long green flag runs in some of those areas yet to really contend. He's a great driver. If he finished 7th or 8th, I wouldn't be shocked. But to grab fast laps and to dominate at any point, I don't see that. I didn't see that necessarily at Xfinity, and I didn't see it here in Cup either.
I will think one thing that also probably helped him at Phoenix is the resin that was still on the outside that they were able to use, and it kind of gave him that outside groove that you're not going to really get that as much at Richmond.
Kind of like Briscoe. Briscoe's great at Phoenix, and we're talking about obviously 2 dirt racing guys. I don't know if there's any correlation there or not, but drivers can be really good at other short flat tracks and bad at some other ones, whereas like Bell's great at all of them. I feel like this might just be a place where Reddick hasn't shown. He can definitely show. I don't think he's shown it yet, and therefore I don't want to trust it. Not in a race where we're trying to hit guys who can score 20-plus dominator points. He's going to have to put a huge performance up to pay off that price against some elite drivers. So is it possible? Yes. Personally, I don't think it'll happen, though.
Yeah, that's good. I just wanted to mention it. I kind of regretted having him not be like my guy to talk about for that reason right there. So thank you guys for talking about it.
Well, we got one last time to talk about him. I'm going to do what I love to do every week now. I'm spinning the wheel. I don't care if I don't make any ask permission. I'm spinning the wheel. Yeah, because one day it's going to work.
I'm about to disable the damn link.
This is my wheel now, and one day it's going to work well for me. One last time. Let's see how we do.
Who did it pick last week?
Oh, I forget. It wasn't pretty though. Oh,
BJ McLeod, come on. Oh,
Kyle Larson.
Not bad.
I can't see it.
If Hendrick have the advantage, Kyle Larson can definitely hit.
You know who is missing off that list of guys who scored over 20 dominator points in the last 7 races here?
Kyle Larson.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great spin of the wheel there.
That is.
Again,
yeah.
Another,
it's skill. It's skill.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Another dirt track driver who doesn't have a good Richmond history.
Yeah, looky there.
Another one where I'm like, Reddick, Briscoe. Maybe there's something to that. Bell breaks the mold, but maybe there's something to those guys not being good here. Maybe it's something in the driving style. So, yeah, good luck with your wheel of Larson there, buddy.
Thank you. I'm going to keep stealing it, and that's going to make me commit some larceny. All right, let's go up next. We are going to, oh no, we're done. 50 minutes too. So I actually, time has flown through this one. A lot of good points we have here. So I appreciate Stevens for joining us and my co-host for joining me as well. We now have 12 live viewers. So everybody, please hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. Everybody watching after the fact, comment below. Let us know your thoughts on this.
Can we tackle this real quick?
Uh-oh.
Can we tackle this? Has everyone seen this nonsense?
What?
Has everyone seen this? This is what Barstool put out earlier today.
That Larson is on the hot seat?
That Kyle freaking Larson is on the hot seat.
Who watches Barstool for NASCAR?
Dude, that's the point, though. Stop paying attention to these nonsensical idiots who cover the sport.
Yeah, that's one thing now. Everybody in their, I mean, yeah, we're not allowed. I'm not swearing on this, but everyone.
I had to catch myself. I was getting angry.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Everyone's doing it now. I mean,
it's got to be just.
You can fact check people pretty quickly. I'm totally transparent on my side, as you guys know. I post all my stuff, wins, losses, whatever. Like, definitely fact check these people because there's some crazy Twitter accounts going on right now.
That's like, hey, Stevens, do you pay attention to the Dirty Mo Dose deal? The guy in there?
No.
So at Daytona, he lost everyone about 25 units. And then
is that good?
He lost everyone like 15, 20 units. Like, he made everyone broke. They had to get second mortgages on their house because he's got this platform. He knows what the hell he's talking about. It's crazy out there. Like, you guys got to pick smart people to listen to.
It's psychotic. I can just say, like, that's one reason I'm on here with you guys. Like, it's one reason that I made my price $100 a year so people could afford good people, not just myself, but you can subscribe to my site, you can subscribe to your site, you can subscribe to Run Pure Sports, you can just it's available to everyone. There are good sites with quality people that know what they're talking about and actually put their money where their mouth is and win some money. That's not like, there's just way too many, I hate the word tout too, but there's just too many Twitter accounts and things with like just post picks with no repercussions. Like, let's start calling them out and run them out of town.
There's a person that posts practice times, and the practice times are never right.
That's pretty neat.
It cracked me up. Didn't even have
make them up. How are they even wrong? Because you just literally just copy paste that.
I don't know. They didn't have Reddick's second. Reddick was the second faster in the field in practice last week, right? They didn't have that lap on their sheet. It was the I'm like, how do you not?
But he said I missed some laps. He said that in his tweet. There's some laps missing off of here. I think I know who you're talking about. I remember the tweet. He did call. He said it. Like, I think he acknowledged it. I don't know. People have.
I don't think we're talking about the same person.
Maybe we're not. Because
there's too many of them. How do you know who?
Maybe
there's hundreds.
Yeah, I don't think we're talking about this person. Didn't say anything like that.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's somebody different. Y'all are great. FYI, don't pin me on someone who gets that. Oh.
All right. Well, if you guys are,
let's go home. I got kids.
Fair. If you guys are looking for people who are doing great NASCAR content, there's 3 of them around me. But maybe I'll have to start. I'm doing okay in your little Ironman or year-long contest there, Larkin. Eh?
Where you at?
I think I'm top 20.
It's not bad.
I'll take it. As someone who's learning from you two. Like I said, I tweeted out last week before the race. Every amount of like money I make is attributed to both you guys there, and I'll have to check out Win the Race as well. But let's get out of here. As always, thank you to everybody for joining us. I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. Ryan Stevens from Win the Race. Please tell everybody where they can find you and what you got going on the rest of the week.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me again. I really appreciate it. I started wintherace.info this year. It's got all the data from NASCAR directly for every single race for all 3 series immediately after the race or the next morning. And the big thing that I do is kind of digest all of those stats and spit out what I call true performance ranks, which have been very successful for me and our users. So I don't know. Check it out. It's $100 a year. One thing I'm very strict on is I only do a year. I'm not doing a week, not doing a month. There will be no quitters. And if you quit, I don't even want to hear about it. So I do a yearly subscription and that's it. $100 a year. It'll never change. Maybe the price would go up if I bring in an opto or something like that, but that's it. 4 tire pit stop ranks, DraftKings projections, articles, betting. We're up 34 units so far in Cup. It's all transparent, wins, losses, everything. tail it or do your own stuff, I don't care. The info's there. So I appreciate you guys having me on. It's wintherace.info.
Love it. All right, Jason, where can they find you and what do you got going on the rest of the week?
Yeah, thanks, Stevens, for coming on, man. It's nice to do some content with you again. I've always respected your stuff and always respected stuff.
Yeah, you know, I've followed you guys for a long time now. I love all of it. So thank you guys.
You guys can find my stuff obviously at runpuresports.com. That's where I will have my article that's out every race day morning that will include a cheat sheet, a breakdown, all these nice graphics you saw here. Kind of do my best to break down how the slate's going to go, give you a core breakdown the best I can. It's kind of a good way, hopefully, to start your day before you mosey on out and start looking for other content and start finding out where you're going to settle at on those lineups. Follow me on Twitter at DFS NASCAR.
How much is it to read your article?
It cost, I got to see if Run Pure upped it, but I think it's nothing still.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah, still.
It is awesome. Man. Congrats on the 10K followers, by the way. That was huge.
Yeah.
I love how everyone was tweeting it out. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
I forgot we're supposed to do a celebration.
Thanks to everybody out there. I mean, like I said, I obviously wouldn't have 10,000 followers with all you guys out there. Thank you, Mike. Thanks. I would have never thought that I got to 10K with this doing NASCAR DFS stuff. You know, like when I got to 5K, I thought that was kind of going to be it, and then it just keeps going up.
Awesome, man. That's cool. You're the true OG in this space. Don't let anyone ever tell you different.
There's a lot of guys before me, but
we need some sort of confetti to like, just blast over Jason's screen. So first off, I need to correct myself. It wasn't Cup timesheet. It was truck timesheet. Okay. Truck series. They did not have Kyle Busch times correct in that one, and it was the second week I saw that. So correct myself. Hey, I'm wrong sometimes. I'm probably wrong about everything I said in this whole show. DailyFanRacing.com.
I'm wrong always.
Huh?
I'm wrong always. It seems like the more confident I am, the more wrong I end up being.
Oh, yeah. That was the thing when I said no with Tyler Reddick. I'm like, I'm going to be firm here, and I'm probably wrong. Like that's
but when people like you, Jay, like when you posted, I think it was Atlanta, you're like, the core smashed or whatever. Like, people love that shit. That's good. Not a good day financially, but it was funny. It was good. You got to own that when it happens.
And then he posted his anti-core, and they all crashed too. So
yeah, it worked.
DailyFanRacing.com this weekend's going to be hell for me, but we'll get through it. We got F1, Xfinity, Truck, and Cup content all going to hit within about a 10-hour window. So we got to do content for all four races within about 10 hours. And then so the F1 race will actually be Sunday night at 1 a.m. Eastern, which is wonderful. Xfinity's at 1, Truck. So we'll have everything covered still, but my weekend's going to be absolutely crazy. You can join me. I'll literally get everything done. I won't really be helpful to anybody. I'm going to have to turn off Discord and make sure no one messages me and distracts me, but we'll get everything out there content-wise just as normal. We also, of course, are teamed up with the Solver. We've been doing really good with them. So you can sign up to the Solver. If you're signed up to my site, the projections load up directly there as well. So you can max those mini maxes out, or if you have enough money to max out the big $15 stuff, that's great too. But I don't got that kind of coin. But anyways, that's it. That's all I got. Hopefully you guys will join Jason and Ryan with their stuff as well. Make sure you're checking it all out, and good luck.
Yeah, and for me, I got no UFC this weekend. I got nothing. I'm sitting here, feet up, nothing really going on. But you know what?
Ryan needs some help writing articles.
Ryan's getting me out of bed at 8 a.m. or what, 7:30, 8 a.m. What are we doing at this time on a Saturday?
I'm waking up at 5:30 on Saturday, and I'm already dreading it.
How do you watch a race at 1 a.m.? Like you just pour some coffee and let it rip? Or
and
what?
It's F1 too. How do you stay awake?
How do you watch an F1 race at noon?
Vodka,
you gotta
and Red Bull.
toothpicks.
You got to have the Red Bull, and then you have some vodka. You put it together. You kind of get energized, and it makes it a little more exciting.
All right.
Fair
enough.
Well, I'll be there. I'll be with you. Hungover or not, I'll be there. I don't know if I should say that. Anyways, we are going to move along, and we're going to end the hour-long video here on the Daily Fan Racing YouTube channel, the longest one we've had so far, and for good reason.
Stevens. I mean, let's just blame him.
It's, you know what? I had a lot of fun. It absolutely flew by. Maybe it's because I didn't.
I've missed you guys. This was good.
I missed you too, man.
Yeah, especially you, bro.
But maybe it's because I didn't do a UFC show before this, but it did absolutely fly by. So I appreciate all your hard work and content. I wish everybody the best of luck this weekend. Hope everyone enjoys the race, and let's make some money, guys. Peace.